So, you want to learn Pillarless, or Pless. This video is going to go in-depth, explaining the ins and outs of the trick, detailing how it works, the steps to perform the trick, some general explanations on how the trick functions, and pointers on common mistakes I've made while learning this trick that might help with execution. On top of that, I will be explaining every individual version of Pillarless, including the OG beginner strats, the intermediate Singlejump strat, and of course Tama. Now, this video will have timestamped sections, so if you already know the technical aspects of the trick, or you don't really feel it's necessary to learn them for you to understand how to perform the trick, I understand. Just skip ahead. That said, I do personally find that learning all aspects of how the trick functions helps with learning what I'm doing wrong in the moment. So, on to the dirty details of this trick. Let's start with a brief rundown of how this technique actually works and what exactly you're doing. First up is the Bomb Regrab. You do this to inflate the bomb, creating what is referred to as a bloated bomb or a bloated bomb. And this is important because while it is being held, a bloated bomb's hitbox will collide with Mario's hitbox and push him away from it, in this case, backwards. This, as I'm sure many of you know, is how the bomb clip in Bob-on Battlefield works. This trick requires a similar setup. Now, what's important here is you need a fully inflated bomb, which makes this a frame-perfect trick. We want to get the largest possible bomb, which is a frame 4 regrab, and that will take practice to get right at first, though if you're already familiar with bomb clip, it should be easier. Next up, we have a trick called hands-free, and while most runners have heard the phrase hands-free and the hands-free glitch, even while searching on larger community information sites like Wikipedia to fact-check my research, I couldn't actually find a good explanation of how hands-free works. That is, until I thought to check the channels of SM64 community legend Panincoic, who has compiled over a decade of research into the intricacies of Mario 64 across two separate YouTube channels, Panincoic 2012 and Uncommentated Panin. With Panin's video on the hands-free glitch, I was able to understand and more accurately explain what was going on with the trick and how it actually functions, a video that I will be linking to in the description. If you're interested in getting a more thorough understanding of hands-free, I highly recommend watching it, as it's the best resource on hands-free that I could find. Now, hands-free is essentially just a trick that allows Mario to go from a holding state, that is, holding an object, to an actionable state, that is, as if Mario were not holding an object. However, as far as I can understand, Mario is still actually holding the object according to the game. He's just able to perform certain actions while holding the object that he otherwise would not be able to, such as jumping, kicking, ground pounding, and flying. There are a few different methods to activate the trick, but the one that's pertinent to us here, for Pillarless, is that you can go hands-free when landing while holding an object after a dive onto a downward slope, which is why diving back over the dune onto the downward slope is used in the original version of the trick to set up the hands-free state. During hands-free, there are a multitude of actions that will end the hands-free glitch, including standing still, walking, and grabbing a ledge. But as long as you are performing an action, such as jumping, ground pounding, or sliding, you don't have to worry about the bomb exploding or being dropped during this part of the trick. Now, that's most of the trick's actual technical aspects right there, but there are a few more things to mention before we get into the steps. Because Mario is continually being sent flying backwards relative to his angle, you are able to alter your angle while sliding either on slopes or on your butt after sliding off of a slope. But you cannot jump on an upward slope or you will drop the bomb. And just generally, you can't dive or kick, as diving will regrab the hands-free bomb and kicking will kick the hitbox of the bomb away from Mario, effectively nullifying your negative speed boost. On top of this, as a result of your negative speed, you're able to climb up downward slopes backwards by angling Mario back up them and continuously pressing A to jump back up the slope. This will be used near the end of the trick. The final piece of the trick that's important to understand is the clip into the pyramidion, or the top of the pyramid. Now, this too does not have a proper explanation anywhere that I can find, but the gist is that during the startup animation when Mario ground pounds, he can clip through certain objects that would otherwise act as walls, as long as there is a seam for Mario to be pushed through or the object is in motion, which is the same reason why the Womp King will clip right through Mario if he ground pounds during the Womp King's attacks. Let's get into the meat of this, now that we have all of that context. Here are the 8 steps of Pillarless. Step 1. The Bomb Grab. This step is simple. Press C down immediately upon entering the level to orient the camera correctly, then either perform a buffered kick and walk, or just simply kick slightly below the right notch, and grab the bomb by going neutral, or going very close to neutral while still holding right, and press B to initiate a punch to grab the bomb. If you do not go fully neutral, you will retain some momentum, allowing for a greater window to initiate the grab. Step 2. the Bomb Regrab. This is arguably the hardest part of the trick. You must hold down left notch, and once Mario turns, but not before, quickly press A then B, not at the same time, to jump and throw the bomb. And then quickly tap down when you land, and press B to regrab the bomb on exactly the 4th frame after it lands. This takes quite a bit of trial and error, but if you've performed Bomb Clip before, none of this should be new to you, and you should be able to pick this up with practice. Step 3. The jump. Again, simply jump and hold A, and after jumping, hold up right notch on the stick to speed Mario up in the air. Step 4. Hands-free. This is the step where you will activate the hands-free bob-omb glitch, and the first step where each version of Pillarless diverges slightly. In normal Pless, once you go over the hill, shift from up notch to down right notch, then press A and B at the same time to perform a jump dive. Continue to hold down right notch as you slide down the hill. Hit C right once to orient the camera, and then double jump back over the sand dune, pressing Z to ground pound after passing the dune, or if you feel more comfortable, you can wait until you begin to approach the ground, though this does lose some time. Go neutral on the stick before landing, as you will drop the bomb if you don't. Then jump and perform a second ground pound. For a slight improvement, C right instantly after diving and jump while on the slope. Then hold up right notch to pass over the dune, then perform the trick as normal. It's important to note here that there are certain spots you want to avoid during your ground pounds. On screen now is a top-down view of the areas that you can jump from, marked in blue, and the areas that you cannot jump from, and thus want to avoid standing on, marked in red. This doesn't mean that you can always make it jumping from anywhere in the blue triangles, or that you can't make it from outside these ranges, only that these are the spots you want to aim for consistency. Part 5. The Instant Doublejump. Once you begin to approach this dune, marked here in red, you must quickly press A and then press and hold A as you touch the seam where the two floor textures meet to perform a glitchy instant double jump. This should allow you to clear the gap with a fully inflated bomb while holding the stick toward the pyramid. But if you still have trouble getting over, press Z at the height of your jump and you will be propelled backwards into the pyramid wall. Part 6. Scaling the mountain. Hold your control stick such that Mario will be angled towards the center of the pyramid, noting that this changes depending on what camera angle you use, and rapidly press A to quickly gain height up the pyramid. Part 7. Entering the pyramid. Once you reach this line, press A and Z at the same time, or quickly one after the other, to perform a ground pound, clipping Mario through the pyramidion and into the hole in the center of the pyramid. If you keep grabbing the star or keep missing the hole and going past it, it means you're going too far to the left or too high, respectively. Make certain you are oriented directly at the center of the pyramid, and that you are far enough to the right to avoid clipping into the shining atop the pyramid star. You may also randomly die at the end of this clip while entering the pyramid. I don't actually know why this happens, and I've found zero explanations anywhere. If anyone knows what causes this, please let me know in the comments, and I will pin it immediately. I just think it's very funny. Part 8. Post-entry. Finally, after you've done all that, the trick is essentially complete, and you can continue on to do whatever else you want to do inside the pyramid. But I'll explain the movement for the most common star this trick is involved in. Inside the ancient pyramid, immediately hit C left to turn the camera to the correct orientation. Hold slightly left of up notch and perform a kick double jump, releasing A almost immediately after performing the jump. Then press B to dive. For a safer version, don't release A and instead hold A for the duration of your jump. This avoids the risk of bonking on the fence, but removes the possibility of clipping through the fence with your dive to perform a faster star grab. Alright, and now we get on to the difficult version of Pillarless, Tamapless. This version of the trick doesn't diverge too heavily, except in a few specific spots. Do the steps you already know up to when you reach hands-free, but once you go over the dune, continue to hold up right notch until you approach the seam between the two dunes. Then, before moving from the upward-facing slope to the downward-facing slope, press A and B at the same time. This will cause Mario to perform a jump dive and grab the bomb while still moving towards the downward-facing slope, allowing you to enter hands-free upon landing. After this, continue holding up right notch, then press C right and shift to holding left notch as you slide close to the death plane in the center of the sand pit. Once you have the correct angle, but before passing to the downward-sloped floor triangle, jump and perform a ground pound. If done correctly, you'll have enough time left on the ground to perform the instant double jump before dropping the bomb, allowing you to continue the trick as normal on the pyramid. This is a quick explanation of the two types of backups you can perform if you get a bomb that is too small to make regular Pless. Now, I want to warn you, if you feel confident that you can get a frame 4 regrab consistently and just made a mistake, It is usually faster due to the difficulty of perfectly executing medium bomb Pless to simply throw the medium bomb, get a backup star, and then come back in to reattempt normal Pless. But if you're afraid of getting another medium bomb, it is best to learn this backup so you aren't stuck resetting trying to get a big bomb every run, especially if you're learning it for 120 star or 70 star, where SSL can be well over 20 minutes into the run. First off, if you get a medium bomb, don't panic, just remember the steps as you know them. Once you get back over the dune, you're going to perform 3 ground pounds, or 2 if you decide to do Tamapless with the medium bomb. And generally, you will need to ground pound after the instant double jump in order to cross the gap with the strategy, though it is actually possible to not do that. After this, slide down the pyramid and perform a double jump at the base, hold towards the pyramid, then ground pound at the height of your jump to land just under where you need to ground pound to clip through the pyramidion. Then, holding upright to get the proper angle, or whatever angle you need to hold. I say choose any angle here because it actually does depend on the camera angle that you used up to this point, and that does depend on preference. Tap A repeatedly to get to the correct height and ground pound to clip through the pyramidion as normal. This section of the video will consist entirely of a few demonstrations of the different types of pillarless strategies. These will not be perfectly optimal, but are instead just here to show each version of the trick that I've explained so you can compare to your own gameplay to see where things might be going wrong. Now, there are a lot of mistakes you can make with this trick, and I mean a lot, but I can't possibly list all of them, so here are a few common ones that I find happened to me a lot when I was learning the trick. First up is punch canceling. As it sounds, if you try to change your stick direction too quickly after performing the punch to grab the bomb, you'll punch cancel and walk away from the bomb. Try to wait for the bomb to be in Mario's hands before turning, as he won't be actionable for several frames after Mario visibly grabs the ball bomb anyway. Next up, we have throwing the bomb without jumping. This can be fixed by making certain to press A before pressing B, rather than at the same time. If you didn't turn, it means you didn't wait long enough for Mario to turn after pressing down left. If instead this is caused by you not turning and not buffering your A press, then it means that you didn't wait long enough for Mario to turn after pressing down left. Next on the list is missing the bomb entirely. This usually means that you either pressed A too early after turning to jump and had no momentum, or didn't hold A while jumping and went too short. This can also be caused by an improper stick angle or starting position, if those first two fixes didn't help when troubleshooting. The next mistake is a very common one that I see a lot. It's dying in either of the sand pits. And this can be caused by a lot of different things, but generally it's caused by you choosing an unfavorable angle during your setup, or a mistake in your alignment to reach the pyramid, or, if you're performing Tamapless, by not changing your angle quickly enough after setting up hands-free. Try to tinker with these to find a consistent angle and route that works for you, and refer to the demonstration videos for a better understanding of where you might be making a mistake. Next up is dying on the double jump. You need to perform the two A-presses very, very quickly, and you must be certain to perform the second A-press as close to the seam of the two quicksand textures as possible. If you ledge grab on the grate often, try to stay further to the right, or try angling Mario differently. And if you ledge grab on the wall often, either make certain to hold your control stick relatively behind Mario, or just ground pound across the gap instead of trying to make it solely using the double jump. And the last mistake I'm going to cover is going past the hole. This can be caused by either your angle not being towards the center of the pyramid, or by Mario being too high on the pyramid to land directly in the hole. refer back to the demonstration videos for reference on proper height and speed. Now I made this video because I really felt like all of the other Pless tutorials that existed just weren't all that great at helping me when I tried to learn Pless, so I would hope at this point that you've learned all you need to know in order to perform Pillarless. But if you have any questions or you just can't figure out a certain part of the trick, feel free to leave a comment, I will read them and I'll respond when I can, or message me on Discord, which is the easier way to find me. You can find me in the official SM64 speedrun server. I love teaching new people, I love teaching people how to do tricks in Mario, and I have no problem helping anyone out with this one in particular. It's definitely one of the hardest required tricks in the LBLJ route at 16 star, and it's a very tough one for 120 and 70 besides that. Check out Wikipedia or the resources tab on the sm64speedrun.com page for more help. I'll have those linked in the description for your convenience, and if you like the video and want to see more of this kind of thing, please do like and subscribe. It does actually help a lot. Thanks for watching. Later.